Here are 10 books I still have not reviewed and why. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, because I don't want to do it alone, then make sure to smash that like button. Some of these books I have received multiple comments asking me to review. Some of these books I've actually checked out and enjoyed. Some of them I haven't done much more than heard of. But what they all have in common is that they are still on my list and we still have not reviewed them on this channel. So what are they and why, and what is taking so long, Sam? Just so you guys know, some of the reasons I haven't reviewed them sound kind of stupid the more you hear, but I swear, I really do swear, the more videos we put out, the more cornered I really kind of am in terms of options at a given time, and it's like, well, people have been waiting for this, and when the channel gets bigger, they'll start to wonder why it hasn't been covered, and we may as well take the plunge. Also, this is not 10 books long, it's actually 11. Something else is that there are links in the description to these books, so if you guys buy anything through those links, then I get commission, which helps me a ton with building this channel. Without further ado, number 1, The Shallows by Nicholas Carr. One of the most impressive things to me about this book is the author's crystal clear articulation. Like, there's really is kind of nothing that he can't explain. Something else aside from the how is really the what. I mean, some of this book actually freaked me out a little listening to the audio version. For a few days, I was constantly worried when my phone wasn't in my pocket. But the reason I haven't reviewed this book yet is 1, well, I guess reasons, no one's asked me to, and 2, it's not that popular. But believe it or not, sometimes that is a good reason to review it anyway. I'll try to explain why later in this video. Number 2, The 5 a.m. Club. This is a big one. It has sold 15 million copies in 3 years. I don't know how that happens, but it is a concept definitely worth millions of dollars. The idea is to wake up an hour before your partner, your children, your pets, and or any other members of the household, and spend that hour specifically focusing on your personal well-being. Simple, revolutionary, and maybe to some a little generic sounding, but I haven't reviewed this one yet because it may be too popular. Some books like Atomic Habits and 12 Rules for Life have been beaten to death in reviews and summaries by booktubers galore, and this just may be one of them, even though it came out 3 years ago. I will review this one anyway, however. Number 3, Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. Before I checked out any of these self-development books at all, I once saw this sitting in a store somewhere. I don't remember where. I don't remember if it was in Orlando or Washington, D.C. or Mexico, but I was young and times were different. And I remember thinking to myself, why would I want to eat a frog? And honestly, that's why I haven't reviewed it. I'm just kidding. In retrospect, what it probably is I imagine a series of ideas about procrastination and how many books have been written on procrastination. And how many of those books have been written by Brian Tracy? And how many books has Brian Tracy published? That dude has an unmatched work ethic. Number 4, Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi. There is so much substance in Millionaire Success Habits that you really would not expect from its title alone. So much. This may sound silly, but there was a month in 2018, I think it was June, when I checked out 5 books, and I just put out a simple video talking about all 5 of them. As it turns out, one of those books was Millionaire Success Habits, and it was delightful, but I never felt that it needed to be reviewed on this channel just because I talked about it once in a video about 5 different books that I checked out in a month. But since getting into the very helpful and super valuable habit of trying to put out as many videos as I can about a book while reviewing the book, I realized that that's a stupid reason not to review it. So I really need to just pick myself up, eat that frog, and review it anyway. Number 5, Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard. Stress, not reaching our potential, depression, giving up on our dreams, hurt, illness, poor mental health, and fears. These are things we supposedly learn about in Dianetics, written by the founder of the Church of Scientology, a religion that it seems like everyone understandably has some opinion about. There's an author I really look up to named Grant Cardone. He is huge on Scientology. But something I really like about him is the fact that he never, I don't think he's ever talked about it in any of his books ever. But at the same time, the only thing I at least imagine myself admiring about Scientology itself is, just like any other religion, its tenets of self-improvement. This book is very controversial. Over 20 million copies have been sold, and the audio version is 17 hours long. A reason there are books that I have not reviewed is sheer volume purposes. SVP. Just kidding, there's not an acronym for that. I guess there is now. In the time it takes me to review like a 17-hour long book, I could review well more than one within a shorter length. Even if the shorter ones aren't as popular, nonfiction isn't that active of a niche in general to make a huge difference in popularity. Most of the time, there are exceptions, there are black swans. Number 6, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. This is just another book that I haven't gotten around to. I like to think it's kind of a parent book to Atomic Habits. It's mentioned a few times in Atomic Habits. I also like to think it's the book that popularized the whole cue, routine, and reward habit structure, prototype, routine. That's part of the thing. I don't know. Whatever it's called, but it's incredibly essential to understanding what goes on in our heads when we do something repeatedly every single day, once a day, or multiple times a day even, without realizing it, aka a habit. But again, it's just another book that I'll get to in due time. Number 7, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. It's the same thing with this one, except this one I actually haven't checked out. Viktor E. Frankl in this book chronicles his experience as a Nazi concentration camp prisoner during World War II, and how he uses his psychotherapeutic method to identify a purpose in life and feel positive instead of, well, you can only imagine how horrific that'd be. But many people will argue that this is one of the greatest self-help books of all time. And something tells me that after I check it out, I'll be one of the many. Number 8, Educated by Tara Westover. This is a memoir that seems to have taken the internet by storm. But my problem is that I simply did not realize how popular it was until it was too late. I mean, come on. Everyone in the world and Jupiter and Plenus, Pluto, Venus, everyone in the world and Jupiter and Pluto and Venus has seen this cover somewhere. Because if you haven't seen it online, chances are you've seen it staring you right in the face in the middle of a socially distanced Costco line on a Sunday afternoon in Tennessee. The popularity of a memoir like this, I always figured, had something to do with the sensationalism of bringing to light an important issue that not everyone experiences. For example, this one included her journey from an isolated Mormon family to college, emphasizing how critical education was to her success. It very well may be much deeper than that. In fact, I'm betting that it is, and that the depth just adds to the sensationalism, because it only says that there is so much more than the details to this person's story that makes it such a sticky, I have to tell my friends about this type of book. Things like abuse, the unfairness in the justice system, or speciesism, for example. Number 9, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This is probably the most popular book on spirituality and enlightenment. Its unorthodox outlook and philosophy mixes Buddhism and mysticism in with this giga emphasis on the gravity of living in the present moment. Believe it or not, this is actually my all-time 3rd favorite book. I don't talk about it often in these reviews, but we've reviewed the 2nd and 1st of my favorite books on this channel, and it definitely will not be long until The Power of Now is not on this list for that reason alone. In fact, this one and the next 2 on this list will probably be the first ones to make it off this list, because just like those, I cannot walk for long around every day with this book holding itself over my head unreviewed. Number 10, Influence by Robert Cialdini. Unlike many nonfiction booktubers, my all-time favorite book in psychology is not Thinking Fast and Slow. It is without question this one. 35 years of evidence-based research poured themselves into this wondrous compilation of study analyses, stories of other people and personal, and descriptions of how to use different principles that persuade people to say yes. And this book honestly kind of scared me in a similar way to The Shallows, because I swear that it taught me things about myself that I didn't even know. I was so shocked after listening to this book that I spent almost $1,000 on my first smartphone. 5 years later, I still have it. Came home and spent the next 3 months asking every single personal, interesting question I possibly could in the form of Facebook statuses. It got so much engagement, you would not believe it, but it was so interesting to me how people would react to them being in that red background and how often I posted them. I would ask people like 20-something questions a day. It's ridiculous, and so many people would answer them. I later applied things like this and way more that I learned from the book to personal branding and marketing, even after I stopped making music. And honestly, I'm not sure what my life would be like today had I never bothered with influence in the first place. But it's a very, very dear favorite of mine, so rest assured this one will not be very much longer on this list either. Number 11, anyone who has been watching my channel for a while knows what this is. I don't even have to say it. The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Yes, I don't believe a book of this one's notoriousness and popularity needs an introduction. The biggest reason I haven't reviewed it is simply its length. The audiobook is a jaw-dropping 24 hours. Also, I think I know the answer to this, but like, how would I go about it? Would I go over every law? I mean, we were somehow able to go over all 33 of the strategies of war, but occasionally we received that comment about how all I did in that review was just list every strategy, make a bunch of stupid facial expressions, and say to smash that like button every 30 seconds or something. So maybe we go over my favorites or what the laws have in common. I don't know. Even using basically the same exact structure for my reviews this whole time in like the 2 or 3 years almost that I've been doing book reviews, I've concluded that there really are so many ways to go about book reviews that I could probably write and review my own book about it, which would be pointless. And oh my gosh, I feel like this video is getting so depressing. Let's turn this thing around. Bottom line, I will have no choice but to review these when I start seeing comments everywhere I look asking me to review them. But those are 11 books I still have not reviewed, and why. Let me know what you guys think. Which of these is your favorite? Have you checked any of them out? Are there any books that you would add to this list? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. These ones will be reviewed in due time. Okay. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe. But if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.